और जो दिखता है वो बिकता है, लाइक स्पेशली इन आवर कंट्री लोगों को आइडिया ही नहीं है.
Spirituality and following a religion are two different things, right? Spirituality is not really a product. Spirituality is a self-belief.
I was always a logical guy. I was a science guy. I was a hardcore science guy. We call it the logic versus magic part. So I started learning about the magic part. But I think life is all about meaning making. You are not the center of the universe. You are a part of the universe.
Always felt that I was protected, but never really understood what it was.
Okay, today I'm just going to choose kindness and love and that's it. Today I'm not going to hurt anybody and that's it. And I think that is also puja. I feel things like an incense stick, a meditation bowl, a whole setup, idols and so on. These are supplements that can enhance your journey into going inwards. How can I make my life, my quality of my life better and the quality of the life of people around me better? I think at the end of the day, for me, it comes down to that.
One is God respecting people and one is God fearing people. It all boils down to why you are doing what you're doing. Basically, like you're walking and you don't know where you're going.
I really like the gym analogy. In fact, it's a very good insight. I'm thinking just like you go to the gym every single day. Some days you have a good workout, some days you don't. But you still have to go to the gym and do it because that's what builds muscle eventually. So I think that also happens in any practice, spiritual practice, emotional thing is. It's a very good point actually. And now we're trying to measure something beyond us through something that we created. It's a very unfair sort of a game. There's a reason why there's so much crowd in a Ganga Aarti. You do all the sins in the world, you do all the shit you want to do in life, and then you take 3 dubkis and all your sins is fine. I'm not saying you have to subscribe to spirituality, but you have to subscribe to something. And on the other side, there are centuries, thousands of centuries worth of wisdom that is there. So maybe you don't have to try to reinvent the wheel all the time. There's food in the home. I mean, if you want, you can order Zomato. You don't have to though. Don't reject something without trying to understand it. For me, my keyword is humility and surrender. You don't learn more by judging and assessing and declaring. You learn more by just bowing down and opening yourself up to receiving, and that in itself is humility. But experience everything that you can and then decide what's best for you.
We both are siblings sitting here, but our journeys are entirely different. I mean, you know about it, right?
The problem is people don't understand that concept of fluidity and boundary at the same time. Behind control, behind the need of control, there is always some sort of fear. And in the world wherein we are too busy talking about either mine or yours or hers, I think we should pursue a world in which we can be like, yeah, mine and yours and them, because there's enough space for all of us.
Maybe the story of our life, happy, sad, challenging, frustrating, whatever that emotion is, it's jealousy, it's envy, it's anything as a matter of fact, I feel that there's always a witness. The energy or spirituality that we talk about is all within us. If you're able to just fix your relationship with yourself, that's maybe enough.
नमस्ते, बहुत बहुत स्वागत है आपका आर्यंजना एंटरप्राइजेस के यूट्यूब चैनल पे। ये हमारे चैनल का पहला वीडियो है और हम ऐसे कई सारे और वीडियोस बनाएंगे जहाँ पे हम कोशिश करेंगे कि हम अपने आसपास के लोगों से बात करें स्पिरिचुअलिटी के बारे में, रिलीजन के बारे में, फेथ के बारे में, और ये समझने की कोशिश करें कि उनकी ज़िंदगी में इन शब्दों के क्या मायने हैं। और इसी के साथ साथ हम खुद ये जर्नी के ऊपर जाना चाहते हैं जहाँ हम समझना चाहते हैं कि हमारे जो कल्चर, हमारे जो ट्रेडिशंस रहे हैं, इनके ओरिजिन्स, इनके पीछे जो लॉजिक है, इसको हम किस हद तक समझते हैं या नहीं समझते हैं। इसी के साथ साथ हम ये भी चाहते हैं कि हमारे कन्वर्सेशंस के थ्रू आप भी इसका हिस्सा बने और आपके जो भी थॉट्स हैं, आपके जो भी ओपिनियंस हैं, आपका जो भी नॉलेज बेस है, आप वो हमारे साथ शेयर करें ताकि हम कलेक्टिवली एक कम्युनिटी की तरह ग्रो कर पाएँ। आज इस पर्टिकुलर एपिसोड में मेरे 2 काफ़ी ख़ास दोस्त हमारे गेस्ट हैं। मेरे बचपन का दोस्त रोनित रंजन और उनकी बहन रेवती रंजन आज इस कन्वर्सेशन में हमारे साथ रहेंगे। इनके बारे में बहुत ब्रीफली मैं आपको इंट्रोडक्शन दे देता हूँ। इंट्रोडक्शन के लिए मुझे थोड़ा सा पढ़ना पड़ेगा क्योंकि ये लोग काफ़ी इस्टेब्लिश्ड लोग हैं और इन्हें इनसे बात करते करते भी मैं काफ़ी प्राउड फील कर रहा था। तो रोनित के बारे में मैं सबसे पहले बताना चाहूँगा कि रोनित रंजन एक इमोशनल फिटनेस कोच हैं। उसके साथ ही साथ वो एक कॉर्पोरेट ट्रेनर हैं, एंटरप्रेन्योर हैं और 5 टाइम्स टेडएक्स स्पीकर रह चुके हैं। वो एक एक्स इंडियन आर्मी कैडेट हैं और उसके साथ ही साथ आप उनकी किताब में भी उनके बारे में कुछ पढ़ सकते हैं जिसका नाम है द माइटी मस्टैंग। हाल ही के दिनों की बात करें तो रोनित यंगेस्ट इंसान रह चुके हैं जो कन्याकुमारी से लेह तक पैदल चले थे उनके मेंटल हेल्थ अवेयरनेस कैंपेन के लिए, जिसमें उन्होंने एक पिटीशन दायर किया था इंडियन एजुकेशन मिनिस्ट्री को कि मेंटल हेल्थ को कंपलसरी कर देना चाहिए बच्चों के लिए उनके रेगुलर करिकुलम में और इसे एक नॉन ग्रेडेड सब्जेक्ट की तरह ट्रीट करना चाहिए, जो कि काफ़ी सक्सेसफुल भी रहा। उसके साथ ही साथ रोनित का जो काम है वो माइंडसेट, लीडरशिप, इमोशनल इंटेलिजेंस, हीलिंग, डेटिंग, मेंस वेलबींग एंड एजुकेशन, पोइट्री और पर्सनल डेवलपमेंट के अराउंड रोटेट करता है। इसके अलावा रोनित के बारे में आपको और भी कुछ जानकारी चाहिए तो उनके वेबसाइट या इंस्टाग्राम से आप वो हासिल कर सकते हैं, जिनका लिंक्स मैं इस वीडियो के डिस्क्रिप्शन में डाल दूँगा। रोनित के साथ साथ जो हमारी दूसरी गेस्ट हैं उनका नाम है रेवती रंजन। वो रोनित की छोटी बहन तो हैं लेकिन उसके साथ ही साथ अपने आप में एक बहुत ही वेल स्टैब्लिश्ड मार्केटिंग प्रोफेशनल हैं। उन्होंने बहुत ही कम उम्र में काम स्टार्ट कर दिया था जहाँ पे वो एक सीएमओ के लेवल तक पहुँच गई थी। उन्होंने काफ़ी कुछ हासिल किया बट उन्होंने फिर डिसाइड किया कि वो अपना खुद का बिज़नेस करना चाहती हैं, तो उन्होंने सीएमओ की पोजीशन को छोड़ के अपना खुद का स्टार्टअप स्टार्ट किया है जिसका नाम है फैंटास्टिक मार्केटिंग। और आज के डेट में वो काफ़ी सारे ब्रांड्स को, जो कि स्टार्टअप्स भी हैं, वेल स्टेब्लिश्ड ब्रांड्स भी हैं, उनको हेल्प कर रही हैं। तो ये एक शॉर्ट इंट्रो है इन दोनों का। इनसे रिलेटेड जो भी रेलेवेंट लिंक्स, वेबसाइट्स या सोशल मीडिया हैंडल्स हैं वो मैं डिस्क्रिप्शन में ऐड कर दूंगा, तो आप इनके बारे में और जान सकते हैं। और मेरे पे आते हैं, मेरा नाम है ऋषभ पांडे। मैं अरियंजना एंटरप्राइजेस का फाउंडर हूँ और इस चैनल के माध्यम से मैं ऐसे लोगों से बात करना चाह रहा हूँ और समझना चाह रहा हूँ कि उनके लाइफ में कंसेप्चुअली रिलीजन, फेथ और स्पिरिचुअलिटी के क्या मायने हैं, और इस कन्वर्सेशन के थ्रू मैं खुद ग्रो करना चाह रहा हूँ, साथ ही साथ हमारे इस कंपनी को भी आगे बढ़ाना चाह रहा हूँ। तो बिना किसी भी देरी के आपसे ये विनती है कि आप ये वीडियो पूरा देखें और आपको जो भी थॉट्स आ रहे हैं, ओपिनियंस आ रहे हैं, आप कमेंट सेक्शन में हमें बताएं। और अगेन बिना किसी देरी के वीडियो को शुरू करते हैं।
So something I've learned about business is you can create the best product or the best service, but if it's not reaching the audience, like if it's not visible to the audience, और जो दिखता है वो बिकता है, like especially in our country. So even if you create a product which is a 7 on 10, but वो जनता को दिख रहा है कि अच्छा ये इसी चीज़ के लिए, and there's it's market is more accepted, that is much more effective and it penetrates the market much more than something that's a 10 on 10 but nobody knows about it because लोगों को आइडिया ही नहीं है। तो फॉर एग्जाम्पल अगर मैं स्पिरिचुअलिटी की बात कर रहा हूँ और मैं जिम के कपड़ों में बैठ के बात कर रहा हूँ वर्सेस कोई एकदम कुर्ता पजामा बैठ के या फिर पंडित वाले कपड़े की बात कर रहा है, इट्स बेसिक साइकोलॉजी कि हमको पहले लगेगा कि भाई हमारा पहला जो इन्फॉर्मेशन सोर्स होता है इज़ आर विजुअल। तो हमने वही प्रोसेस कर रखा है, वो हमारा विजुअल क्यों हो गया कि अरे इट हैज़ गॉट समथिंग टू डू विद दैट एंड इट गिव्स अस दैट लिटिल बायस लिटिल थिंग कि मैं उसकी बातों पे विश्वास करूँ।
आई हैव अ फॉलोअप क्वेश्चन फॉर रेवती ऑन दैट। ठीक है कि आई अंडरस्टैंड दिस पॉइंट कि यू नीड टू लुक द पार्ट वाला जो भी बात है, बट बीइंग अ मार्केटर, सी यू हैव बीन इनटू मार्केटिंग ऑल दिस व्हाइल, हाउ अबाउट आई पुट इट दिस वे कि I am trying to put out a brand which is different from what's out there. So do you think it's a good strategy to not follow these rules and try to create a separate way and be unique in some way by for example being in my gym clothes and talking about spirituality? Will that be a good example or a bad example?
I actually have 2 point of views here. Okay. Firstly, respectfully, I understand where Ronit is coming from. However, I feel that when we talk about a topic such as spirituality and following a religion are two different things, right? I understand that we come from a country wherein we definitely जो दिखता है वो बिकता है works, but spirituality is not something that people do for दिखावा. That is something that they have a belief in within themselves. Is what I know about my generation at least. Wouldn't comment on our parents' generation, but then at the same time, like my father is very religious, and I do see that he likes putting a tika, or he likes doing a puja, but then again it is not something that he wants to show. That is something that is coming from within and a devotion. So maybe in this topic I would not really say that, I would not 100% agree with jo dikhta hai wo bikta hai wala concept, because that is great for businesses and products, but spirituality is not really a product. Spirituality is a self-belief. Spirituality is believing in something that is more than us, right? So that is my first point of view. Second, talking as a person coming from the marketing background, right, is that today's marketing is not entirely as traditional as we think it was. Like if you go a decade back, it was entirely different, and right now we are so it's split between an audience which has a lot of filters and an audience who likes unfiltered raw content, right? So there's a lot of brands who are making amazing content out there, but you cut off storytelling, you cut off the raw part of it, the purpose and vision out of it, and then the brands are like nowhere. They have no direction. So when talking about spirituality, why should we kind of try to show it rather than it should be a lifestyle, is what I believe. I would say that this should be maybe unconventional, not following the rules, and calling out to people to actually share their stories and how different their beliefs are, because every kilometer and every person that you meet, it is gonna change. So maybe the reality will hit much more impactful, is what I believe, at least.
Yeah, that's a good thought. So I can see this contrast of beliefs, which is very deep rooted in our culture, right? So Ronit, you come from a very different background. Although you guys are siblings, but since I've known you guys for so long, I know how your journey has been through life. And just focusing on that, I want to kind of ask this to both of you. I'll start with Ronit first. What was your first point of contact with spirituality or faith or religion, however you want to put it?
I think for me, I was always a logical guy. I was a science guy. I was a hardcore science guy. So for me, everything had to be logically or scientifically broken down into frameworks and causes and effects and so on. And that's how I had lived most of my life. And I was getting a lot of my answers. Even being a coach, I would see patterns, I would identify patterns, and I'll find a lot of answers. But I think when a lot of tragedies hit my life, logic was not able to give me any answer. Like I was hitting a limit because logically it wouldn't make sense of a suffering. And that is when I started learning about surrender. I started learning about something called spirituality, wherein we call it the logic versus magic part. So I started learning about the magic part, but there was still a lot of resistance because I think there was also a lot of ego, and I was like, no, I'm gonna figure out, and it's my thinking and my idea, what I think. It's my. Like when we get into a scientific framework, we get too much into me, and my thought. And then a major tragedy struck in my life, wherein I lost the person I loved, and when I was grieving in that process, logic didn't work, and in my grieving process, a lot of people around me, and through my own understanding of the world and so on, and now that I believe the universe, like I think started getting a lot of signals and all, which would logically make no sense, but I think life is all about meaning making. So at that point, the meaning that I made was there's something bigger and beyond, and merely accepting that will help you process and understand things, and also it'll humble you to realize that you are not the center of the universe, you are a part of the universe. And that's where the idea of universe comes in. And once the idea of universe comes in, then you can get into God, faith, religion, spirituality, energy, and so on. And that's how it started for me, when I realized that I'm just a part of a larger universe.
There's always this point of realization, right? Yeah. So thank you so much for that, Ronit. I'll ask the same to Rewati. What was the first point of touch between you and religion, faith, however you want to put it? Yeah.
Okay, I think for me it would not be one touch point, is what I believe. I think while I was growing up, I had enough evidences wherein I had experienced that there was a higher power, and I always felt that I was protected by like someone or something or some energy, which I have never been able to pinpoint and say, if it's a human, if it's, ancestors, if it's any other energy. But I always felt that I was protected, but never really understood what it was. And I think last year I came to a point wherein, so previous to that, I am a person who has like a very heightened sixth sense, right? So if there's something that is about to happen in the family, I already know about it much in advance. I'm mentally prepared, I'm taking care so that, like the damage is the least. Even if something good is going to happen, I somewhere already know. So like for a really long time, I didn't really understand why do I know about all of this. And I was trying to make my peace with it, but then I always felt that I had like a certain connection with something which was not human, is what I felt. And that by that I don't mean spirits and ghosts and stuff like that. I don't mean that, but that was there. So it has been a very I would say confusing relationship for me in the starting phases of my life. And then I think last year I reached a point wherein so I started my own business, and it was a very new journey for me, and a lot of things kept happening and stuff like that. And so I started seeing numbers, and I started I started sensing that while I was asking a certain questions, I was always receiving the answers. It was never in the form of saying that someone came and told it to me. It was somewhere in form of words or numbers and something, and they somewhere just like got together and gave me answers. And then I kind of started understanding that maybe there is someone else or some other energy which is guiding me. That's when I kind of started acknowledging and reading about these universe energies and stuff like that. I have never been a person who has been very protective of, being very explorative of a religion, so I will not be the best person to answer that. But spirituality wise, I think it's more about my belief that someone or some energy exists out there, and they always have my back. Maybe it is just me, and I'm kind of like mentally in a game wherein I'm believing in myself, and it's giving me answers by myself, and maybe that's an imagination. For some people it might make sense like that, but that is how I believe it. I believe that there's someone out there who keeps supporting me. That's my touch with spirituality. So I started exploring more and communicating more.
Wonderful, wonderful. What I would briefly like to add to that for the both of you is that my own journey with spirituality, religion, faith, I try to put all these in one sentence. You might have looked onto that. So I have my connection to each of these very differently. So spirituality is something which I'm still exploring, but it all, like Ronit mentioned, that there is some part of your life, maybe a tragedy, maybe a loss. Sometimes it can be a good thing also. There are triggers to life that sort of take it in a direction. So for me, it all started when I lost my mom, and it was back in 2006. I was like a very young child, but I was the elder child as well. So I don't know, that point of time I could not process the entire thing. There was this gap. So some years I took to kind of understand what's happening. And from there onwards, I was kind of agnostic. I was not believing in anything. I kind of considered that there is no such divine power, because no divine power would do something like that. And again, with time, I had my fair share of tragedies. It can be with respect to my family, love life, friendships. So eventually there was a time, I think back in college, when I kind of found my way towards religion and faith. And I kind of understood that this is not just all something that's blatantly out there. Like Ronit very well mentioned, I am also the same student like he is. We are from the same background, the same school, the same streams. So I kind of understand what he's saying, and I also looked for logic in everything that surrounded me. And with time I found that, there was some semblance of logic, some semblance of understanding that there is a reason things are happening. And I found my peace with that. And still, this is my journey. Like this thing that we are having right now, this is part of my journey of understanding what spirituality means to me, what it means to the world, what it means individually to each and everyone in the room. So this is like the company name as well. It's called Arianjana. And my mother's name is Anjana. So we kind of put it around my mother's name because I remember I still meet people in my society who I've known for more than 20 years. And they would tell me that we still remember your mother. And she would do all kinds of pujas at home. And, there would be like katha and whatever going on. And I had no idea. I was just a kid. I would play with my friends and then I'll come back home. They would get me dressed as, Lord Ram. Sometime I would become Shivji. Sometime Lord Krishna. So these are some fond memories of my childhood. Like house full of ladies, my mom with her friends, they are doing the puja. I had like a complete mandir segment in my room. All the men stayed outside because they my dad once told me that whenever my mom or any group of ladies are inside doing any form of puja, any form of katha, there is this semblance of energy. There is some sort of energy that the men don't even want to, break that barrier. They are kind of afraid to step inside the room because they can feel the aura inside the room. So I have heard these stories. I, in some way, remember what happened back then, but I was like a young boy. So I also want to understand, like, has this been a part of your family backgrounds? Like the puja, the havans that happen in our home, all the different types of katha, like Satyanarayana katha or maybe a Rudra Abhishek. So these are things that have been happening since we were not even born. And with time, I personally think that the perception of the youth towards these pujas are merely like a sham. They don't try to understand the logic behind it. They don't try to see why these pujas are happening or why these rituals and traditions are like they are and the reasons behind all that. So is there any take you want to like take on this? What's your understanding, especially with respect to the youth? Like how do you understand they should perceive it? Ronit?
I can represent the whole youth part so well because when I grew up, I was an atheist. I was a strong atheist. I believed that there's no such thing as God, universe, or anything. Gradually, I was like, okay, fine, I don't want to offend anybody, so I started calling myself agnostic. It's like, oh, I don't know. I mean, but I don't care. And I was never for these traditions or customs or puja and all of that, because mostly what I've seen is even now a lot of people who do all these pujas and part and all of that, it's a performance. For 2 hours you're like, oh God, and I'm gonna be honest and all, and they spend the rest of their whole week by not doing good karma. They go on and they do whatever shit they want to do and they come back and justify by saying I want to do puja part. So I'm against that concept. Now as I got into this whole field of spirituality and all, now I know that there's wisdom in doing a particular tradition or a story. It's about people coming together and witnessing a particular story which is filled with metaphors, and those metaphors can give you a lot of wisdom on how to live life. And there's a lot of wisdom in that. There's a lot of beauty in different stories we have. We have Ramayana, we have Mahabharata and so on. Bhagavad Gita, any story for that matter. There's a lot of wisdom to pick from that story. But somewhere we have forgotten to pick the wisdom and we have taken things on the face value of it. That it's about this God and you should do this and you should get this prasad and do this tika and that's it. And people never sit and even question themselves that, okay, maybe this story was about honesty. Am I being honest in my life? Am I doing that? They don't do that self-reflection. It becomes a very external thing, which is why I feel it's mostly sham for the most of the people that I see around, right? Because I see them in the background and they're probably not the kindest people in the world that they claim while they're doing puja. At the same time, I know a lot of people who are very genuine, who take these pujas very seriously. They also live by it, but it's a small proportion. But a lot of people who do not do a very elaborate sort of a setup or elaborate procedure, but in their heart, their idea of prayer and their idea of a tradition is, okay, today I'm just going to choose kindness and love and that's it. Today I'm not going to hurt anybody and that's it. And I think that is also puja. And I feel things like an incense stick, a meditation bowl, a whole setup, idols and so on. These are supplements that can enhance your journey into going inwards. They are not the primary thing. The primary thing is our intent. Somewhere I see that we've become a society wherein we've made all of this the primary intent and we forget our part. So a good reflection for Gen Z or the whole present generation would be that this is great. In fact, this enhances the experience. But this is not the main experience. The main experience is for you to sit down and be like, what is the wisdom in this story? Can I implement this in my life? How can I make my life, my quality of my life better, and the quality of the life of people around me better? I think at the end of the day, for me, it comes down to that.
So summing that up, basically, if we go back to our chemistry class back in school, so these accessories are basically catalysts in the overall process or the equation of life where you find yourself internally, right? A beautiful answer on it. And I would like to pose the same question to Rewati again. Like, how has religion been a part of your life through like pujas and all these aspects?
Okay, yes. So we both are from the same family, so I think we have seen the same things. But I think I'll bring I'll give bring a different perspective. What I feel is that the people that I have been seeing, so like it's in my family as well, right? I generally see it as two categories. One is God respecting people, and one is God fearing people. And what I believe is like how Bhaiya was talking about intent, right? It all boils down to why you are doing what you're doing, right? And it's yes, it is why we do. So for example, let's say if today I am not feeling good, I decide to go sit in a gurudwara, I decide to like maybe be in the temple for a while, or maybe not even go there, sit in the puja room or in my room, hai na? That is sacred space for me, right? Now when we are at a temple, for example, or there's a puja going on, whenever there's chanting happening, there's bells happening, the frequency kind of rises to a point wherein your mind kind of calms down, right? Now when that happens, it is a good practice to do that, right? But then if you look at everyday humans at this point, it has become more like, oh, you know what, mujhe, I want to go to the office, so fat se I'll do the puja, like, and then that puja is ki I will just, like do 2 rounds of the incense stick and like, rushing. Then I think then there's no point of doing it, right? Because if there's no purpose behind why you're doing what you're doing, and it is about everything, is what I feel. It's not about not just about how we follow religion, right? Like there's these conversations that I keep having with my mom. She's sometimes I keep questioning her, why are you doing what you're doing? So there are a lot of rituals, like so I can speak for the women. It's very irritating when we are told that, you're having your period, so you should not be going to the temple. But the reality of the situation, like if you actually read about it, why this was made was very different, right? And I will not share the story because I'm assuming that people already know that. But again, the intent vanishes and people become a blind follower to say that, this is what we believe in. And the moment we stop questioning why we are doing what we are doing, what doesn't matter what you're doing, it's directionless. I feel that it can have no output as a matter of fact, right? Like you guys are saying that it acts like a catalyst. Yes, but you got to put the inner work. But I also feel like you got to ask the right questions, right? If you're sitting and balancing your energy, are you looking at a purpose of it? Are you saying that, hey, you know what, I want to be a better human being? Or are you saying that, I just want to channel my energy better? Or maybe I'm taking wisdom, like he was saying that, if out of the scriptures, we can take the wisdom out of it. But there has to be an intent. Right now, I feel that a lot of people that I'm seeing are not having intent. And they're just running after, I'll take 5 nariyals and I'll break it and then this will happen, ye mannat puri ho jayegi and stuff like that. And I'm like, nothing moves unless there's a friction and there's a purpose and a direction. It's basically like you're walking and you don't know where you're going. So that is there. I've seen it in the house, and I have been a person who has questioned it a lot, to which I think I'm also very happy, because my father has been a very active person here. And he has actually found out the answers and given it to me. So today when I believe, I think a lot of it comes from my father, wherein he's actually given me the rational and logic behind it as well. Because if that wasn't there, I will tell you, I would have like kind of gone away from the religion and said that I don't even identify with it. Is my personal take on it. So that is there.
Yeah, so well, I get your points. ठीक है. You summarized it like the accessories being a catalyst for finding inner peace and inner spiritualism. You said that you always find a semblance of logic, a sense of understanding behind everything that you're doing, right? I also would like to like counter one of your points where you said that just doing like 2 rounds of incense before going out to office. I personally think like for our dads and our moms, like my dad personally, he had this habit of putting a chandan tika every day before going out. He would do the same. He was not like a very big religious person, but he had his own ways of worshipping. He would like worship at least in the morning when he would get up. He would do the morning prayers. Like after he passed away, like it has been like a huge task to just manage doing that. We are two brothers at home, and just doing that, giving 5 to 10 minutes of that of our daily time in worship is something which we feel is like too much to do. But then coming back to what it did for my father, what it did to all the people I have known who follow this practice, it just is like every day you exercise, right? Exercise gives you a lot of positive energy in life. You become fitter, but also mentally you are relaxed that I did my exercises today, so that's a motivation to kind of go throughout your day. I think the puja in that way does have a very similar effect. Like for my dad, I can speak. So every day he would worship, that would give him like a very positive motivation throughout the day, even if that's 2 minutes of doing the incense throughout the house. So I personally think it's very individual of how people have their own outlooks around spirituality, their own connection with God. And again, it's different with each religion and every person individually. So that's that. But yeah, great points. Thank you for sharing.
I really like the gym analogy. In fact, it's a very good insight. I'm thinking ki just like you go to the gym every single day. Some days you have a good workout, some days you don't, but you still have to go to the gym and do it because that's what builds muscle eventually. So I think that also happens in any practice, spiritual practice, emotional thing is. It's a very good point actually.
Yeah, for example, like if you have a partner, you have a girlfriend, you might have a boyfriend, maybe a husband or wife. So like every day talking to your partner is something that you do. Sometimes you might not be in the mood, you're busy in office, but just a text saying I love you or just saying hi, good morning, good night when you're not together. Especially for people who are in relationships. After marriage, it becomes different, but you can never be married to your God, right? There are people who might think that way, but it is like a relationship, right? Every day you need to remind each other that we are there for you. So that's how I perceive like puja or these rituals are. It can be as simple as lighting a diya for your home. It has a lot of the butterfly effect logic can apply. Like you light a diya, it just makes the entire atmosphere of the house different. It becomes positive. Because trust me, I've been at a place there has been a time where my house was closed for 4.5 years. I was trying to find some job in Delhi, and my house where my entire family has lived, my mother has worshipped every day, was closed for 4.5 years. And the time when I came back to this home, it was completely different. And even when I did those little pujas or just a little lamp, it changed the entire vibe of the house, the atmosphere of the house. So I think it's that sort of a ritual where you just connect with your God. It's just a medium. But again, coming back to both of your points, it needs.
I would want to like add something here.
Yeah, sure.
What you guys are saying, I agree. I do not deny to that, and I'm not saying that I have like a very different point of view, but like the gym analogy, right?
Yeah.
That there's some good days, there's some bad days, right? And then but then you should have a certain discipline, and then you should have like a certain practice that keeps you sane at least, right? And you have you follow it. I am not questioning that. In fact, I'm a hardcore believer that if you're doing something, even if it is not a good day for you, you don't have time, even take 1% out of it. So I believe in that 1%, that if you're not able to do 100, at least do 1, right? And then like maybe stop there because you don't have enough bandwidth to do that. That's fine. My question, I think I've been misunderstood here. My intent is coming from this. Let's say if you're going to the gym every day and being like, you go take a selfie and come back because I had to maintain a discipline of going to the gym, then that goes wrong. Right now, so I will tell you, I'll not name anyone, but in my family itself, right, I have seen people who have who know that my daily practice is that I do a puja. So while they're sitting, they're like, is the roti done? Is the cleaning done?
Yeah.
And then again going back to what this was done, then they were not mentally there, the intent wasn't there. It was just that, hey, my family keeps doing it, so let me just do it for the sake of it. So my question basically, my point here comes is that it is okay to have good days or bad days, but saying that all my days are, it is just going to be a discipline which I am following without any intention. Like for example, you talked about your father, right? It's been hectic for you, you are not able to do it. Maybe if you had like a really strong motivation behind it, you might have done it, right? Let's say if you want to stay fit and you're not at your best shape, you will find a certain motivation. Maybe it's a fear of like being very overweight, maybe it is diseases or whatever, but there's some motivator, right? Yeah, but then whatever it is, you like bad days is fine. You cannot just reach at a point wherein I'm doing it for discipline, but then I don't care about what is it's there. So then it becomes kind of empty. Is like, again, everyone has the individual point of view, but I feel that bad days, good days have an intent. At least 3 to 4 days in a week have an intent is all that I'm trying to say.
Yeah, I mean, I get both your analogy. So the gym analogy was fine, then the selfie thing came in. So we came back to the same thing again. So yeah, I mean, I kind of understand that, and I think let's move on to the next part. See, so once again, I would like to brief you guys about why we are doing this. So I have founded this company called Arianjana Enterprises with my Masi. Okay, so like, you guys know me from my childhood. I've never been a very religious boy. I have had my fair share of experiences with religion, with finding my own faith, spirituality, and it has always been either this or that, this or that. So I have been through this wave, and currently when I look back, like I told you, I can look at my mom, I can look at my dad, because me and my brother have this relationship where we never talk about God, we never talk about spirituality or religion, because there are other things we do, okay? And that does not mean that he doesn't believe in God or I don't believe in God. We always get to that point after we have had our own fair share of experiences, which you guys also put across. So my motivation with this company, Arianjana, is to first, go back to my mom. My Mausi has a kid, his name is Arihan. So we kind of combined both their names and named the company. So our initial motive is to go back to kind of, it is sort of like an effort to keep my mother alive, because she has been so much devoted to God, and everyone in my family to this day, after 20 plus years, they still mention her, and the very next sentence that they mention is that she was someone who was next to God, she was the only one, this the family was together. So all those things I keep on hearing. So with this company, initially, like, we have started Pooja Samagri kits, and we have online, offline Pandit services, and all those things are there. We want to set up a marketplace for everything related to Pooja. But there's a parallel motivation, which I also talked to you off camera about. So it is very, it is this, what we are doing right now. So I want to sit with people, understand about their lives, what journeys they have on, they have endured, and eventually how they found their spiritualism, how they found their connection to their own God, how their faith evolved, what's their connection to their religion. And the more stories I listen, the more practices I learn about, the more logics and reasons and understandings I kind of uncover will give me this understanding. Because honestly speaking, I'm not some acharya or guru or like these like 11, 12-year-old Insta kids who can just come on reels and just chant 2-3 shloks and talk about God and spirituality. I don't want to do that. My motive with this is to have my own journey, obviously provide all the accessories and services and products along with it, but the base motive is to kind of understand where these pujas and rituals and traditions have rooted from, because this is not something we started 10 days ago. It has been since we know time. So it has been there in India. India is known for this culture, this tradition, and there is a variety of it. So if you go south of India, there's a different sort of culture of the same puja. Even in your own state, the vidhi of doing puja or the means that they do it can be different for like different villages. You mentioned about your Kul Devi puja that you're going to Gaya for with your family. So see, like I mispronounced Gaya as Goa. So there are people who would go to Goa when they have the vacation. They don't care about spiritualism or even this connection to God. And I don't want them to do puja every day. My motivation is to kind of understand the logic and the stories. Are they even stories or realities? To just uncover it with time, talk to different people, know their perspectives, and eventually when we keep doing it for a long time, we will be at a place where we can kind of create this community and do the right things, right? We don't want to just do it for the sake of it, like you said, and we also want to do it for the right reasons, to connect with our inner selves. Coming from a mental health coach, that's very insightful and deep. So since you guys you have your own backgrounds, you have Revati, you have been in marketing for so long, right? Like half a decade you have invested, you were the CMO of a company which you left to start your own company. So you have your own sense of motivation towards life. And I've known you since childhood, you're like my little sister, so I know your journey, how it has been. And again with Ronit, like we have been in the same school. I have seen him grow from like this young, brighty kid to
Which you bullied.
yeah, which the boy which I bullied for some candies back in KG1. So he is this person right now, like a certified NLP practitioner. He's a mental health coach. I mean, you can just go to his website and see all that for yourself, because I personally cannot list it out here. So I have seen you guys grow through life, right? And it makes me proud. First of all, I want to put it out there. I'm very proud of both of you guys. And I want to, dig deep into that, like maybe a few more questions around that. Like, I understand religion, spirituality, and these things are there. I understand your relationship with Pooja and everything. But the current scenario that is out there, we have a lot of youth that's misdirected, misguided, and you are working in that segment. You're working for mental health, you're working for men's mental health very specifically. So I am sure in your experience, you must have met like this huge spectrum of people coming in from different faiths, different religions, different outlook towards spirituality. So I want just your experience, share with us how different this can be. What are the takes towards religion and spiritualism in the world out there, because you've been around. So let us know about that, and how can we improve on that?
I think a lot of us either skip spirituality or religion because they don't understand it, but they reject on the basis of the fact that they don't understand it. And if they think that if I can't understand it, which means it's not worthy or it doesn't make sense, that's the problem. And the mindset has to change eventually to realize that you might not understand every single thing, and that doesn't mean that that thing doesn't have value or that thing doesn't exist. And the primary reason for that is human ego and identity. Even the whole idea of science has to explain it. Who created science? We did. So it's something that we created, and now we're trying to measure something beyond us through something that we created. It's a very unfair sort of a game. So with a lot of I wouldn't just say younger generation, because I see right now in every generation, we sometimes either see people skipping the whole thing or use spirituality or religion, all of that stuff, as an excuse. There's a reason why there's so much crowd in a Ganga Aarti. You do all the sins in the world, you do all the shit you want to do in life, and then you take 3 dubkis and all your sins is fine. So it's like you're already prepared to do the bad because you know you're gonna go and like dump that shit in Ganga, and then it becomes an excuse. So it then intent becomes very important. And I think today, if your intent is to just be a kind human being and bring love and peace in your life and love and peace in the lives of other people, I'm not saying you have to subscribe to spirituality, but you have to subscribe to something. You need to have some reference point, some anchor, something that you can aspire, some standard you need to have in life. And if you can find beautiful standards for yourself, do that. But most of us don't spend time doing that. And on the other side, there are centuries, thousands of centuries worth of wisdom that is there. So maybe you don't have to try to reinvent the wheel all the time. You can just go back and look at that wisdom, see what works for you, pick that up. Don't pick the whole thing, pick that up and leave the rest. And it'll make your life much more easier. So it's not a mandatory thing, but it's just kept there. Like, it's like There's food in the home. I mean, if you want, you can order Zomato. You don't have to though. If you want, you can order a dish or two. But why would you abandon the food that's kept at home? It's good food. So definitely it's a whole individual experience and so on. But my point is, don't reject something without trying to understand it. Be it the house food or be it the outside. Be open to explore everything. By the end of the day, you'll realize what you like to eat, what works for you, what doesn't, and then choose that instead of judging something from a distance and trying to feel that you are somehow better now because you assessed something exists or something doesn't exist. So yeah, at the end of the day, for me, my keyword is humility and surrender. If you can do that, like in knowledge also we say that you don't learn more by judging and assessing and declaring. You learn more by just bowing down and opening yourself up to receiving, and that in itself is humility. So if there is something that exists for tens of thousands of years, there might be a very strong reason for it, which is why it exists. Be open to just for a moment just bow down and see what it is. Once you receive some of it, then figure out if it works for you or not, and then carry on in your life and just do the things you need to do. So I'm not here to tell somebody that go prescribe to this or go against this, but experience everything that you can and then decide what's best for you.
Yeah, perfect. This is something I want to talk about. So I have this friend, okay, very, very close to me, one of my very first friends of life. And I've known him all my life, like close to 28 years now. He's getting married soon. And this is that one person, like for example, if we have a group and we know 50, 60 people, this is that one person who will always be a different person from the crowd. Like the more I know him, the more I have understood him. Giving you very like to the point examples, like he doesn't believe in live-in. He thinks that any form of intimacy that is physical should happen after marriage. He is a very strong believer of like Hinduism, and he's in some ways a bit of aggressive, a bit more aggressive towards it, towards his beliefs. For example, there have been incidents wherein my common friend, there was this common circle, there was this friend who had dated more than 2-3 girls, and this friend which I'm talking about had a very firm belief that if you stray from your path like this, eventually you will end up making that your habit in life, and after marriage also that is going to see. I understand where he's coming from. I understand that he has had his own upbringing and his own beliefs have been formed around his understanding of our religion, culture and everything, which this is something I can respect. But do you think there should be a boundary, individual boundary as well? Because a lot of aggression that's happening in the world, a lot of clashes that are happening, I think the top 2-3 reasons, religion has to be one of them, right? This is something that we try to hide, but it is always out there. We coming from a country such as India, we have seen this on a daily basis, right? We have friends from different religions, and how because of the political situations things change. So what's your take on that? Do you think like this kind of aggression is a part of our culture, or is it something that is manufactured by us to kind of push our own perspectives around the culture upfront? Rewati.
Okay. So I'll tell you what I understand out of this. If we are, let's say we are born at A, and we know that we are supposed to live a life in a certain manner and then reach B, whatever. It might be a purpose, it might be, getting married, and everyone has their own goals. But B is always, A is the constant, everyone is born, but B is always a variable. Yeah. Someone's purpose might be, for example, he is working in mental health, right? But before that he was in army, he thought that it was the purpose, but it turned out that he is doing something else. For someone, the purpose might be completely different. For them, maybe it's just making enough money so that they can afford the luxuries. Maybe for someone, it is fighting their own struggles because they came from a very, like a background which did not give them enough to survive. It can be, the B is variable for everyone. Now, if A is constant and B is variable, the permutations and combinations are innumerous here, right? And we are talking about a huge number of people here as well, right? So the day we start believing, and even if you look at a normal A and B here, even if you are if you believe that the B is constant, there are innumerous ways of reaching the B as well, right? So the day we start believing that there's only one way of doing something, or there's only one way of reaching, or there's only one path to religion or faith or spirituality, we have already lost the conversation, because then we have kind of decided something for ourselves, and you have all the rights to decide what you want with your life, right? But the moment you push it on someone else, that way you have already, I feel that you have crossed a boundary, because that person's journey, that person's purpose might be entirely different than yours, right? Even it can be, we both are siblings sitting here, but our journeys are entirely different. I mean, you know about it, right? So I think a lot of aggression that we see, right? We live in a country which is very diverse, and it's not hidden that there's a lot of riots that keep happening because of religion, and but then most of the times, if you look at the core of it, it is always there's a certain level of ego. How could you say something like that about my religion? Obviously, you should not take disrespect, but at the same time, it is also people not understanding that there's a boundary. Now, even if there's someone from another religion, or someone, we three right now sitting in the room have very different beliefs. Does it mean that I am right and you are wrong, or you are wrong, you are right and I am wrong? We both are right at our places. And as long as it is matching our intent, our purpose in life, it's good. You talked about live-in relationships. You said about marriages that after a certain point, the physical intimacy should be only reserved after marriages and all of that. This might sound sensitive, but the physical intimacy that people talk about, we are in a country wherein sexual frustration is so much that rapes are happening almost every day, right? Yeah. So then where did that angle go, right? Then if you were supposed to preach something, the aggression may be also coming because you're pushing something so hard that it broke down. If I feel that if there's a body, everyone has their desires. If they want to do something, if someone wants to live with their partner, maybe their intent is to have a better life, because they want to understand the partner. They want to get an understanding of the compatibility. Will we be able to live in the same roof or not, right? Yeah. It doesn't really have to hurt someone's sentiments. That's them trying out a part of having like a trial maybe before marriage, because they're committing for a really long time. Physical intimacy as well, right? It is a personal choice. You want to as long as you're not hurting the other person, if consent is there from both parties, there's no harm in it.
This is something that you talked about, but it's all very individual. I like to add Ronit to the conversation here. Yes. See, you are someone whom I can call an influencer now. You have like 420 plus K followers on Instagram. Your entire reach is global, right? And what I believe, like aggression or something like that, is always driven from a point of authority, a point of power, which comes with your influence, which comes with your reach. So, for example, what you believe about spirituality or religion or your faith, when you put that out on a platform that's public, that's global, and you have followers who listen to you, who follow your content, and again, there is a sense of credibility to your content, right? The things that you talk about, most of the times these can be things that can be controversial. You talk about both male and female mental health. You touch topics that people generally avoid. And again, religion and spirituality being one of those topics. What you say and what you portray might become something that a large section of the society will follow. Again, like you have already mentioned this once to me, that 50% of your viewers are girls, 50% of your viewers are boys. Now there you have this very segregated base, and they have their individual beliefs, like Rewati said, like they have their own outlook towards physical intimacy, towards life in general, towards every aspect of life. So you being an influencer, do you think that you are on this point of authority, or do you feel this pressure somehow to educate all these people about all aspects of life other than mental health? This is something that you're doing, but if you talk about religion, will these people understand what you're trying to say, or will there be a clash? I'm trying to understand what will happen.
I think probably a few years ago I thought about, it's my job to educate and all, but I think I've realized that It's not my job to educate people. At the same time, yes, because there are a lot of people who follow me, I have to be very responsible with what I say on social media, and I'm very responsible. I do my research. But when it comes to, like, usually even your question has this underlying question on where to point fingers or who to blame. But I feel it's an infinite loop and you can't blame anybody. For example, would you blame, let's pick a poison, let's pick cigarettes for that matter. Would you blame the producer of cigarettes? Like, no, you produce and that's why consumption is happening. Are them to blame? Yes, they are to blame. Would you blame the consumer who's demanding so much of cigarettes that they have to make more cigarettes? Would you want to blame? Yes, you're going to blame. So there's no one party you can blame. There's no one party. Everybody is responsible. It's everybody's wisdom and all of that. So the whole blame, I mean, I can talk about how I can blame that department or that department and so on. Same goes when you talk about religion. We can blame the manufacturers of the stories in the religion and the traditions and norms, or we can blame the consumers because that's the kind of thing they demand, right? So it's also very demand supply sort of a game. And I think getting into the whole idea of who to blame or who to responsible, it's futile. There's no point. Which is why at the end of the day, it's for everybody to figure out what works for them. But to figure out what works for them, I think there's a certain amount of fluidity that you need, which means you need to be able to experiment. At the same time, you need to have some boundaries so that you don't just scatter and spill away. The problem is people don't understand that concept of fluidity and boundary at the same time. They understand boundary as the strict control, or they understand fluidity as screw everything, nothing matters, I'm going to do anything about it. So when you talk about control, like the example you were giving, I think that's an example of control. And from whatever I've seen in people, whatever I've studied in different things, behind control, behind the need of control, there is always some sort of fear. And underneath that fear, there is always some sort of insecurity. So a larger thing would be, or the more important thing would be, to address those insecurities and that fear. And then itself will help you loosen your control a little bit. And while you loosen your control a little bit, your wisdom about your beliefs and your values and what is your model of the world and how can you be kind to the other person will also give it like a semi-solid membrane around it, the boundary that can also contain it so that don't spill over and spill it. So I think it's a very nuanced, very responsible sort of a journey that everybody needs to have individually. So my jelly-like amoeba would look like very different from yours, would look like very different from her, and it's our thing. And in the world wherein we are too busy talking about either mine or yours or hers, I think we should pursue a world in which we can be like, yeah, mine and yours and them, because there's enough space for all of us.
Beautifully summed up. So I think we are reaching to the end of our podcast anyway. So I would like to put across something which I heard from your dad, actually, both of your dad, the last time I was here. So he put this fact across which attracted a lot of my interest. So we have both been science students in our backgrounds. We studied about light. I'm sure you must have studied too, Rewati, about light. Like light is something that shows dual behavior. It's also wave and it's also particle in nature. So there was this experiment we have read about. It's called the double slit experiment. So when, for example, there is a slit and the light passes through, it behaves as a wave. But when there is an observer out there, the light starts behaving like a particle. So this theory, like what your dad told me, is that just imagine if light can behave in a different way in front of an observer, how can you not say that the world function as it does because there is some sort of a higher power, some sort of someone who is just observing us. There is this model, this perfect science that's put around us. Even there was this episode on Young Sheldon, if you guys have seen it. Like he explains it to his mother that in a scientific way, where he says that yeah, everything in this universe is binded together by some energy that we know not of. So I just want to end this discussion on that topic. I want to take your last thoughts on like how would you perceive everything around you, just individually. I don't want to compare your stories to anyone else in the world. I don't want to talk specifically about religion, spirituality, faith, or anything else. I want you to just take a minute and just say what you feel about your being, your existence, about your connection to God, anything in those aspects if you want to talk about. I would very much want to hear that. Yeah.
I think for me, one way to think of life is that, the way I'm sitting next to her, sitting in front of you, talking about everything, talking about life, love, religion, sex, all of that. It's very random, There's all randomness, and it's all just random trials and error and all that. There's one way to live my life that way. There's one way. But I think when I have that, I wouldn't have any anchor or no principle, no direction to move towards. So I'm not very sure if it's the best way for me personally to live. The second story I can tell myself is there is a very strong reason why the three of us are sitting here and talking about love, religion, God, and spirituality and all that. And there's a very strong reason. But I want to know about this reason. I want to know about this truth. And I'm obsessed with knowing what is the truth. And some people might think that's a better way of living, but I still feel it's limiting because now I am limited by the idea of understanding what is it that connects all of us. So I am still trapped. But I feel the third story I can tell myself is there is definitely a very strong connection or reason and timing and space and all the realities why three of us are sitting here and talking about love, life, God, religion, all of that. And maybe I would love to experience some of the reasons, but it's beyond me. So what I can do best is to utilize this space and be happy and enjoy this moment and add value to each other's life and just be happy and enjoy my life. While there is something bigger probably operating, I don't even know, but I can operate within the best in me with the both of you. And I just feel that amongst all three stories I can tell myself, having this third story will give my life a lot of fulfillment, happiness, and meaning. So if I'm given a choice, I will take a third choice. Now, is that the truth or the reality? I don't know. But I think for me, that's where I'm going to be the happiest and most fulfilled. So I would rather choose that.
Personally, I think that the generation that we are living in, or maybe not the generation, the times that we are seeing every day, we all feel that there's a lot of loneliness, but at the same time, there's a lot of social energy. We have people everywhere. Like you will never be at a point, I think very rare situations wherein you will be at a point wherein you're not able to see anyone like at far distances. It's so crowded out there, right? There's so much energy, but at the same time, there's a lot of loneliness as well, because I feel that there's a huge lack of relationship with our own selves. And the reason why we talk about religion or spirituality or faith, maybe it's selfish, maybe it's not, but at the same time, I feel that it kind of keeps reminding that we are not alone, right? Maybe the story of our life, happy, sad, challenging, frustrating, whatever that emotion is, it's jealousy, it's envy, it's anything as a matter of fact, I feel that there's always a witness. Maybe that witness is someone that we created, maybe it's God, maybe it's in higher energy, but that's someone who has seen us in the raw form. There's no filters, there's no judgment. I think that story for me makes me believe that I can be whoever I want, right? And that makes me come out of that judgment which social media or outer world or a society could put on me. That's one angle wherein I could take it. And second is that I feel that whatever energy or spirituality that we talk about is all within us. There's something that I very strongly believe in, that you talk about religion, you talk about energies, but it's all about creating, destroying, sustaining energies. And look at us, we all are capable of doing that, right? So if we just reflect within ourselves and we fix, like, leave the world around. If you're able to just fix your relationship with yourself, that's maybe enough. You don't have to get out there and solve all the problems, have all the logic, have all the aura figured out, or have all the answers. As a matter of fact, The only thing that you could do is maybe just find your answers. When I say it answers, it's not really logic, it's about who you really are. What do you want to do? What do you want to believe in? Do you want to believe in something that you haven't even seen? Please do go ahead if that works for you. Are you a person who would want to have logic to everything? Maybe that works for you. We cannot draw patterns, we cannot put a certain boundary to it. It works, it is fluid but has some boundaries. You can question its existence, you can maybe deny its existence, or maybe you can accept it to a point wherein you have surrendered and say that, whatever I have is, of the higher power. But at all of these does not change the fact that we exist, and no matter what, we do have to have a certain level of work within ourselves for it to even happen and make a change, right? Or even survive, as a matter of fact. So that is where I would want to stop, that it all boils down to us. The moment we have things figured out for us, maybe it can be in a form of surrender as well, wherein you don't know the answer, but you just keep believing that one day I'll make it, and then you keep working on it, right? So that is how I would want to end it, by saying that it is all us. And it is, there's this beautiful saying that we are everything and we are nothing at the same time. So till the time you believe that you are everything, but at the same time you're a very small part of this universe, right? So my brother actually had sent me this song Shiv Samare, and it says that it talks about the concept of shunya, right? So I believe in that we can be everything and nothing at the same time, and it is open to interpretation. That's all.
Okay guys, thank you so much for being a part of this conversation. Actually, the camera that was recording me, the battery just ended somehow, so I'm doing this right now. So thank you so much, Rewati, for being part of this conversation. Thank you so much, Ronit, for sparing your time given your packed schedule. So this is it. This was just a way of reconnecting with my friends and trying to understand spirituality, religion, and all those aspects of life through my channel at Arianjana. And this is something I want to do more often. Meet my friends again if they are up for it, and obviously meet more people, talk about similar topics, talk about life in general. It's just a way of creating this community of understanding, and that is something we are looking forward to. So thank you so much once again, guys, for being a part of this.
Thank you.
It's been a pleasure.
Thank you so much. Namaste.